What's going on, guys? Machine here, level 16, Bounty Hunter, Powertech spec. Let's go. This video is going to be about the abilities that you can expect to have at level 15 as a Powertech Bounty Hunter. You know, at level 15 to 20-ish, classes really start to shine. You get to see what they're made of, and you get the core amount of abilities that you will use and utilize for the rest of the game. So let's jump right into the mix here. And the first ability I'm going to show you is a very basic ability, and it's called Rapid Shots. And basically this just fires a quick stream of bolts causing damage to the target. Now Rapid Shots has more than one use. I like to use this as a filler attack. I never really open with it, but you're going to see as I'm showing off these abilities throughout this video, the bar below this red bar here is called the heat bar. Now when you use attacks as a bounty hunter, this bar is going to start filling up yellow. That's because you're generating heat. When this bar hits max, you will not be able to utilize your attacks. So the Rapid Shots ability, I've found using it and throwing it in as a filler actually reduces heat. So you'll see like a healthy mixture. The heat bar will go up and it'll kind of come down a little bit. It'll go up, it'll come down a little bit. Because once that heat bar hits max, your class is now handicapped. You have an ability that vents heat called Vent Heat, go figure, but it's got a cooldown, so you're not going to be able to spam it. So you definitely have to use some management with your abilities. So I'll just show you guys this ability by itself in action and what it actually does, what you can expect. As you can see here, it's just a basic blaster attack, nothing special, just does basic damage. Like I said, I don't open with this, but I use it as a filler to try and keep my heat down. And that's pretty much the majority of the use for this ability. Now the next ability that we're actually going to talk about is the Missile Blast. The Missile Blast is one of my favorite attacks with the Bounty Hunter. Basically, you got a wrist rocket on your left arm, and it fires off a missile that does kinetic damage to the target. Now the cool thing about this is if it hits the target and the target is weak, it's going to knock it to the ground, putting it in an in-cap state where you then can use another ability I'll show off a little bit later called Rail Shot. Now another interesting thing about this ability is when it hits the target, if any surrounding friends of theirs that are weak, they will get knocked to the ground as well. So let's go ahead and show this bad boy off. Boom. You can see it put him to the ground, but it didn't take out the Zeldrate lizard. So not a big deal. I can put it to the ground myself. But you can see when a target hits an in-cap state where it's on the ground, it really becomes handicapped. It takes all its movement out of it. You can get a couple other special abilities or combos off. You know, if you're in a group, it allows other people to kind of run up, use their in-cap abilities, and you can really take a target out quick when it's in-capped. So that's one of the huge reasons why Missile Blast is such an effective attack. The next attack that we're going to be showing off here is Unload, and this is basically a constant stream of blaster barrage that goes into the target and weakens and stuns the target for the duration. If you're dual wielding, it's going to fire both blasters, but as you guys know, I'm Powertech, so I am single wielding, and so that does not happen. And Mako is just spouting off at the mouth for no apparent reason. So let's go ahead and fire this off here. It does a decent amount of damage. It really depends on what you're attacking, but on the larger targets like him, I wouldn't have expected him to get stunned for the duration. Most of them, they got to be weak to you. So if they're not a level that's underneath you or considered weak at your level, it's not going to get stunned for that duration. I basically throw this in towards the end of my rotation personally. I don't really open with this. I find it's better when the target's down to half or a quarter health to throw this in. Or if I'm in a group and I'm trying to take out, you know, or focus on another mob that needs to be taken down first, I'll throw this in the mix as well. But overall, it is a cool attack. I don't really use it a whole lot. I throw it up there when it's available. If it's not available, I'm not sweating, if that tells you anything. Next on the menu, we have the Explosive Dart. This is one of my favorite attacks. Basically, you fire a dart into a mob. Now, while the dart is stuck in the mob, the mob's going to be in a state of panic if it's a weakened enemy to you. So once again, if it's not a weak enemy, it's going to charge right at you. It really doesn't care. But If it's a weakened enemy, it will be in a state of panic where it'll just stand there pretty much and be like, hey, I'm panicking. Ah. So after that dart is stuck in that mob and it's panicking, it explodes. And when it explodes, it knocks that guy to the ground, usually kills him if he's weakened, and it also knocks surrounding enemies to the ground if they're weakened as well. So we'll go ahead. I'm going to open up first because these mobs in this particular area, when you fire at one, 3 come out. So I'll fire at one. I'm going to fire my explosive dart. I'm just going to let it work its magic. As you can see, it's in him. He's panicked. Boom. Done. He's dead. And his buddy is right behind him. So the explosive dart's great. I open up with it a lot if I'm coming into a group of mobs because you're going to get mad AoE damage right off the rip. It's going to immobilize a target for the most part in panic mode if it's weakened to you, and then it's going to blow up and do even more AoE damage. So definitely one that you're going to want to think about using as an opener as opposed to just throughout. You can use it throughout as well, but I think it's better placed as an opener myself. Now I know you guys have heard me mention rail shot a few times throughout this video. It's time to talk about that. Rail shot is an attack that is very powerful. It does very powerful weapon damage, but it can only be used when an enemy is suffering from an incapacitated state. So basically what you have to do is get an enemy in an incap state to use this ability. There's a couple different ways you can do this. I like Missile Blast. Incaps, boom, and you can see there it took away half his health. So very powerful attack. Now the thing you want to pay attention to with rail shot is it's going to only pop up when a target is considered incapped, obviously, but different things can incap a target throughout the fight. You never know. It can't really more or less be specific to one ability you use. I've had it to where I've hit people with a rapid shot and rail shot was able to be used at that point. So don't think that you only have to be paying attention to rail shot when you're using a missile blast or an explosive dart where you're for sure going to put someone on the ground. You want to be paying attention to rail shot and use this ability when it's up 100% because it's going to do high weapon damage, and as you can see there, it literally took like 50% of the health. Now I've had situations where I've put a guy to the ground and hit him and basically one-shot him from like 80% down to nothing. So like I said, it's a very powerful shot. If it crits, it's going to be even more powerful. So you definitely want to be utilizing that whenever you can throughout a fight. The next ability we're going to take a look at is hands down one of my most favorite abilities as a bounty hunter. So let's find a little group of mobs to attack here. All right, we got one little resistance saboteur over here chilling by himself, but what he thinks I don't know is that there's 2 to 3 other guys hiding in the dirt. So, death from above. Basically, this is an aerial AoE. The animation's amazing, and what it does is it fires a volley of missiles to the area that you're targeting. Does kinetic damage in that area, and standard and weak targets are knocked down to the ground. So once again, puts them in an incap state for the most part, ready for a real shot as soon as you land. So I'm going to open up here on this resistance saboteur with a rapid shot once again because the other buddies of his don't appear until I attack him. See, so we got 3 more. We're going to pull up death from above. You see this red thing here? That's going to be your area. So we're going to go ahead and fire that there. And as you can see there, it knocks all 3 targets to the ground. The range on it is amazing. It's it's not limited to that red area that you're putting on the ground. It will actually pull up quite past that, and when it puts targets to the ground, it continues to barrage down with missiles. Those missiles are continuing to do damage, and most of the time you're taking a group of mobs from 100% down to like 10 to 15% each. So it's a sick attack, and as a tank, when I was doing some lower level dungeons, I was opening with this because it was generating me a lot of threat, and B, I was able to get control of the surrounding mobs as well. So it's definitely got multiple uses. You can use it as a tank to get threat and get control of those mobs, or you can use it just to take out groups of mobs as DPS and more of a support role. Alright guys, so we've shown all the ranged abilities between the blaster and the wrist rocket. Let's get a little more up close and personal, and that's where the Powertech tends to spend a lot of his combat in. So you got a couple abilities, one being flamethrower, and this is basically a torch that comes out and hits everything within a 10-meter cone. So we'll go ahead and use this on these guys here. Just fire it, and you can move around, applying it to multiple targets. You can see there, did quite a bit of damage. Took that guy down to about 50% right off the rip. And I'm just going to finish these other targets off real quick so we can move on to uses for that ability. You can use it on a single target too. Look, yay, burning. You can see there it really reduces health down quick. So I've seen a lot of people say, oh, flamethrowers only for, AoE use. No, you can use it on a single target too. It's all situational, and that's what I love about Star Wars The Old Republic as a whole, is that there's really no set rotation. You pretty much play the class the way you want to play the class, and play the class from a situational standpoint. Is the target incapped? Yes or no? Okay, use rail shot. Is the target, got two buddies that are going to pop up? Okay, you're going to want to open with this and then use this. If there's not some set like, okay, I'm just going to, you hit 1 and then 2 and then 4 and then 3 and then 1, it's your choice. You play the class the way you want to play it. And I think a lot of MMOs kind of need to get more in that direction like Star Wars is getting. So I'm excited to finally play a game that realizes that people like to play classes the way they like to play them. Okay, now the next ability we're going to go over is actually the Rocket Punch. And the Rocket Punch is basically an attack that engages the jetpack and allows you to strike a target with a very heavy punch, dealing kinetic damage. It's a pretty sweet attack. If a melee guy comes up, you can rock his world with it. We'll go ahead and attack these guys over here. We're going to open up with a death from above. See, it's putting most targets. The main guy didn't go down, but the other two targets went down. We'll roll up, hit him with a rocket punch. Boom. He's in cap. Rail shot. Reduce heat a little bit with my rapid shot attack. And he's got me in capped now. Now that's why I'm going to use Determination, which is an ability I'll go over in a moment here. Basically just going to finish off these few targets. Okay, so you saw me use Determination there when I got in-capped by a fellow mob. Basically, Determination is the same as the human racial in World of Warcraft. It removes all in-cap effects and movement impairing effects. So if you get stunned, if you get blinded, if you get anything, you just pop Determination, and it's basically, like I said, the same as the PvP trinket or the human racial in World of Warcraft. It immediately releases you from the binds of incapacitation. Now the next up close and personal ability that we're going to go over here is Flame Burst. Now Flame Burst is great. It's got a low cooldown. It does quite a bit of elemental damage. Pretty much roll up and you're Flame Burst. And you can see it does fairly high damage too. And it's doing a damage over time as well. I mean, it doesn't actually say it in the ability, but you can actually see the health go down as they're roasting on fire. So you can't really tell me there's not a dot in that. And I'm going to death from above on this guy because I love the attack. See on the single target too, where it's focused on one target, death from above will take out a single target. Oh, look at this guy. Down for the count. So there you have all the offensive abilities. Now we're going to take a look at some of the defensive abilities for the Bounty Hunter. Alright, like I mentioned before, as you're watching throughout this video, you're going to see the yellow bar below the red bar, and that's the heat bar, and it's going up, and it's coming down, it's going up, it's getting close to max, it's coming down. Basically, you want to manage your heat as much as possible, because like I said before, when the heat bar goes to full, your class is handicapped. You can't perform any abilities. They will just gray out. You will not have cooldowns available. You won't have anything available. So you want to throw in as many rapid shots as possible throughout the fight. Maybe just in between other main attacks to try and just keep your heat vented to a degree. But if you get in the point where your heat's just skyrocketed through the roof, you can't attack, you can't do anything. That's where vent heat comes into play. Now it's got a 2-minute cooldown, so you don't want to use this if you don't have to. If you feel you can use some rapid shots to bring down your heat, don't burn vent heat just yet. And basically what this does, it vents 50 heat over 3 seconds. So for the most part, your heat will drop down significantly so you can continue to do other attacks. So let's go ahead and show this in action here and how this works. You'll see here, I'm going to go ahead and just start attacking. I'm going to start using attack that generates lots of heat. See my heat bar is up there around 50%. Now 70%, I'm going to use vent heat. Boom, you watch it. See, it went right down. And I'm able to continue. Now, I wasn't at top level heat where I was totally, disabled from using abilities. But I was just showing you guys basically how it worked. But you will get to the point where you just can't use an ability at all, and it's very frustrating. And if vent heat's not available, you might as well just sit on the sideline, and just spam rapid shots as much as possible, because that's the only damage you're going to be putting out, and it's the only heat reduction you're going to be able to get at that point. So you may be asking, what other defensive abilities does the bounty hunter have at his disposal? Let's take a look at a couple more. I already explained to you guys determination, which removes any in-cap effects or stuns or whatever you may have on you. There's also the electro dart, which is more or less a CC move, and it basically is going to stun the target for 4 seconds. So you can open up with that. That target is now out of play. You can concentrate on the other target, taking it down. Once the other target's down, get back over on this target. You can see he was pretty much unable to do anything that entire fight. So it's good to use for, opening if you come up on a group of mobs where you want to, basically take them out of the mix, or you could be taking on something else as a tank and someone, breaks from your party, and you're able to just throw it over on him, take that guy out of the mix. It's situational, so you want to use it wisely. It's only got a 50-second cooldown, so I mean, in larger fights, you can use it more than once. So you'll want to keep an eye on that cooldown to see when it refreshes and when you can use it again. Because, as you know, taking a mob out of the fight is going to do a lot. The mob's going to be doing less damage. You're going to be doing more damage to other mobs, not having to concentrate on that mob. It takes stress off your healers. You should be using CCs as much as possible. So I'll leave it at that on that one. A lot of people, don't utilize CCs within their class in most games I've played. I think it's important to realize your role, learn your class, and play it correctly. Another cooldown ability that's real cool is the energy shield, and basically reduces all damage taken by 25% for 12 seconds. So if you're coming into a wicked situation, or maybe you're getting attacked by multiple targets, or maybe you're a tank and you're about to run in and you want to generate that initial threat without taking too much damage, and you want to be able to relieve your healers, you can fire off the energy shield, which looks like so. And basically, like I said, this shield is going to thwart off 25% damage taken for 12 seconds. Very great ability. It's got a 2-minute cooldown. You're going to want to use it whenever you can, in sticky situations especially, because if you're by yourself, you're getting hit less you have to worry about healing yourself. If you're in a group, like I said before, you're taking stress off healers. It's just a cooldown that you're going to want to use. And once again, there are a lot of people out there that don't utilize small 1 to 2 minute cooldown abilities because they're saving it up for something big. Well, if you're in a boss fight and you've been fighting for 10 minutes, you could have used it 5 times. So it's all about just managing your abilities. Now remember, just a little bit ago we were talking about the electro dart, the attack that stuns the target for 4 seconds. Well, there's also a cooldown for the bounty hunter called On the Trail, and what this does, it finishes the cooldown of electro dart and restores 2% of maximum health every 3 seconds, and it requires an active companion to be able to cast. So you have to have a companion to use this ability, but it totally takes your electro dart back to insta use and gives yourself more health every 3 seconds. So it's a great ability to use. Now this attack, or use ability I should say, has a 20-minute cooldown. So it's not something you're going to be able to spam. It's going to be able to be something that you use once in a great while. 20-minute cooldown, yeah, I don't know. I think that's a little overkill. I mean, the ability does last 1 minute, but still, it's kind of I don't know. 20-minute cooldowns on any abilities just seem a little extreme, and especially for something that only lasts 1 minute. Stop talking, Mako. I'm trying to make a video. For crying out loud. Really? Okay. Let me just move over here. Maybe she'll shut up. Anyways, back to On the Trail before I was rudely interrupted by Mako. This ability only lasts a minute. I mean, To have a 20-minute cooldown for an ability that only lasts a minute seems extreme to me, but obviously they're doing it for a reason. I don't know what that reason is. Hopefully I'll find out at some point, and hopefully it'll make sense. Otherwise I'm just going to be pissed. So now for some passive abilities for the bounty hunter. Right off the bat, when you actually create your bounty hunter, you're going to have recharge and reload, which I'm displaying right now. Basically that's your self-heal. Every class gets one. You cannot use it while in combat. But when you're out of combat, in between battles, this is the way you're going to heal up. It's nice because you don't have to worry about being like first aid or getting bandages or, any of that crap. You just, utilize it in between fights. It's got a, basically no cooldown, so you can use this in between every single fight. Like I said, you just can't use it while you're in combat. Another self and companion and group buff that you actually have is called Hunter's Boon, and this actually increases your target's endurance by 5% for 60 minutes. So if you cast it on yourself, you're also going to be basically casting it on anyone in your party, including companions, party members, etc. This ability here is pretty neat. As a bounty hunter, you get to throw a little buff on your guns. This one here is the combustible gas cylinder, and basically what that does there is it loads the blaster with combustible gas, and you get a 10% chance to deal additional elemental damage over 6 seconds. So you basically get a chance to throw on a fire dot on the target. Yes, I'm alright, Mako. Thanks for asking. Stop talking to me while I'm making a video. I'm not going to tell you again. There's usually an animation that happens. Let me see here. My guy might be just bugged out. Let's find out here. It's not showing, but usually there's like an orange animation that will radiate around your weapon to show that you have put that combustible gas cylinder on there. And then level 15, you actually get sprint, which is awesome. Sprint in this game is amazing. It's basically like having a mount. What sprint does is increases movement by 35% while not in combat. Now in most games that you get a sprint, it's only usable for maybe 10, 15 seconds of running, and then you go back to a normal walk. Nope, sprint in this game is constant. As long as you're not attacking, you're running. And you can see my guy here. We'll take it off. Here's normal, yay, and then I put sprint on. Boom, I'm rolling out. So as long as I'm not fighting now, I have this 35% increase to speed, which is very, very cool, and it speeds things up quite a bit. So, and then here's a little stupid social ability you get called Rally. I don't know, it's kind of like some kind of fist pump thing. Not too hyped about it. And then as always, you get quick travel just like any other class. So let's go ahead and take a look at the skill tree here for the Bounty Hunter Powertech. You got 3 different areas that you can spec points into. You have the Shield Tech, which is a defensive or tanking tree, and then you have the Advanced Prototype, which is a DPS tree, and Pyrotech, which is a DPS tree. Now, last time around, I played the Powertech, and I went into the defensive tree primarily because I wanted to tank. I didn't really care for range tanking myself. Obviously, it's going to change a lot of endgame, I know, but I did a lot of reading on the forums for people that were going all the way up to level 50, and the general consensus was, yes, they have a lot of threat generation, but they lack taunt abilities and other things that make tanks very effective in multi-target situations as well as single-target situations. So reading that right off the rip and knowing that I wanted to be a tank in this game, I had decided to kind of back off, and I was going to check out the DPS trees in this this time around. So I put my points in Advanced Prototype, where I put 4 points. I put 2 in Prototype Burn Enhancers, which increases the critical chance of all fire effects by 6%. And I put 2 in Prototype Electro Surge, which reduces the cooldown of the Electro Dart by 10 seconds. And remember that Electro Dart, that's your CC. That stuns stuns the target rather for 4 seconds. So having 10 seconds less on that cooldown, you're going to be able to bring that up and use it. That's one more target that gets to get CC'd quicker. So it's worth putting the points in there. And then I put 3 in Bursting Flame over in the Pyrotech tree. And basically, Flame Burst has a 100% chance to trigger your combustible gas cylinder if active. So if you're using your combustible gas cylinder buff on your gun, then Flame Burst is going to have a 100% chance to trigger that dot effect. So definitely important to be using. So here comes the part where I basically give my first impressions on the Bounty Hunter class. When I first got into the beta, I immediately fired up a Bounty Hunter. I love the thought of being a Bounty Hunter. The storyline is awesome going up through the main storyline. It really immerses you and makes you feel like you are a bounty hunter, and it makes you feel like you can't wait to find out what happens next. Now, there's three different ways that you can go as a bounty hunter. Yes, there's Powertech and there's Mercenary as your two specs that you can choose, but there's different ways that you can place your points into various trees to play your class differently. So as a bounty hunter, you can be a healer, you can be a tank, or you can be DPS. If you're going to be DPS in the Mercenary spec, you're going to dual wield. If you're going to be DPS in the Powertech spec, you're going to only be able to use one blaster. Now, from everything I've personally experienced and everything that I've personally read on the forums and from everything that I've talked about with people that were higher level in the beta, I've talked to quite a few people. Here's more or less the general consensus, and then I'll give you mine. The general consensus is tanking is fun but could be a lot better, and the bounty hunter tank right now at this very moment is nowhere near as good as the Sith Juggernaut. So that being said, if you're coming to this game to play a tank, I really wouldn't pick a gimped spec right off the rip. I would probably be more apt to want to play a more complete class. So the Sith Juggernaut may be a better choice for you. As far as healing goes, I've heard some good things about healing. I've heard some bad things about healing. Personally, playing a bounty hunter, the first thing that pops in my head isn't, hey, I'm going to be a healer. So I would probably be more apt to play one of the Sith healing classes. I think that, I don't know, when I think healer, I think of, I'm more apt to think of, like Inquisitor, something of that nature. I really wouldn't choose to be a bounty hunter healer. Now, when it comes to DPS, I've heard the DPS is good as a bounty hunter. I played, like I said, the Powertech DPS. Puts out fairly well. The Mercenary, I think, has a leg up on it. I think it's got a little bit more DPS at its disposal. Some people want to say, like, oh, a Mercenary and Powertech are the same thing. You're just either single wielding or dual wielding, and then you're just either up close and personal or more ranged attacking. My total advice at this point for anyone that's looking to DPS with a bounty hunter is to go Mercenary. I think that it's a more thought out spec. I don't know. I seem to have a lot more fun playing it. I seem to be doing more damage, in my opinion, than I am as a Powertech, and I just overall enjoyed it more. So, will I play a bounty hunter at release? I don't know yet. I'm working on a Juggernaut as we speak to see exactly how I feel about the class. Really, it's going to come down to whatever's going to be the best tank is what I'm going to play. But I'm not going to get too sidetracked on this. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I actually had a 1 through 15 guide, and the day, which is today, that the NDA was lifted, my hard drive that had probably 35 pre-made Star Wars guides on it, so hours and hours and hours of work, crashed. And I lost everything. I took it everywhere to try and get it fixed, and it's just done. It's not being recognized at all. So I'm remaking all the videos, so I'm sorry if this video at all seemed rushed. The guide I had was definitely more extensive to a degree, but I still wanted to just get out there and talk about the abilities, talk about the trees a little bit, and talk about my personal gameplay with the bounty hunter, my experience, etc. So if this video helped you, I'd appreciate if you liked and favorited it. If you're not a subscriber, please feel free to subscribe. There'll be a hell of a lot more Star Wars The Old Republic videos coming out. I also, if you go on my channel, I have a real-life vlog as well as videos on some other games that I'm playing right now, but Star Wars is the primary focus of this channel. So if you like Star Wars, you're going to definitely want to come back. I got a Facebook and the Twitter. The links are in the description. As always, guys, stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Much appreciated. Machine out.